I'd like to welcome all of you. A very warm welcome to the whole Sri Aurobindo community, all the collaborating centers, the hundreds of people that are watching on YouTube, and of course, our esteemed guests and eminent speakers. Welcome to the online Invocation and Curtain Raiser event on the Sri Aurobindo Integral Education Network to commemorate the 150th birth anniversary of Sri Aurobindo. We begin with a few minutes of concentration and meditation on the organ music played by the mother, concentration. After which we shall play the messages and the reading of Tara Didi, well now Padma Shri Tara Didi, and followed by Sri Matri Prasad's message on behalf of the Sri Aurobindo Ashram Pondicherry and his reading.
A message from the mother. There is one thing that I must emphasize. Don't try to follow what is done in the universities outside. Don't try to pump into the students mere data and information. Don't give them so much work that they may not get time for anything else. You are not in a great hurry to catch a train. Let the students understand what they learn. Let them assimilate it. Finishing the course should not be your goal. You should make the program in such a way that the students may get time to attend the subjects they want to learn. They should have sufficient time for their physical exercises. I don't want them to be very good students, yet pale, thin, and anemic. Perhaps you will say that in this way they will not have sufficient time for their studies, but that can be made up by expanding the course over a longer period. Instead of finishing a course in 4 years, you can take 6 years. Rather, it would be better for them. They will be able to assimilate more of the atmosphere here, and their progress will not be just in one direction at the cost of everything else. It will be an all-round progress in all directions.
On 24th April 1951, the mother read out this inaugural message for the Sri Aurobindo Memorial Convention, which had been convened to discuss the formation of a university center in Pondicherry. Sri Aurobindo is present in our midst. And with all the power of his creative genius, he presides over the formation of the university center, which for years he considered as one of the best means of preparing the future humanity to receive the supramental light that will transform the elite of today into a new race, manifesting upon earth the new light and force and life. In his name, I open today this convention meeting here with the purpose of realizing one of his most cherished ideals. May the effort being made today to offer various courses of study by persons dedicated to Sri Aurobindo and the Mother from all around the world be a step in the same direction and open the way of the future through an integral approach to education. An education for the soul, led by the soul.
We have just heard the two readings, one by the Sri Aurobindo Ashram, Pondicherry, and then by Taradi from the Sri Aurobindo Ashram, Delhi branch. With this, I would like to play the Multimedia, which is a presentation on the historical context, then going on to the collaborating centers. There are 47 collaborating centers so far, and many more are joining, and 103 scholars and individuals that have so far joined the Sri Aurobindo Integral Education Network. Interestingly enough, the number is coming to 150 so far. And then the multimedia goes on to provide a vision for the future of the network and what our aspiration is.
Collaboration for a new creation. A 150th anniversary offering to Sri Aurobindo. 15th August 2022 marks the 150th birth anniversary of Sri Aurobindo, who fought for India's freedom at the beginning of the 20th century. Such was his powerful persona that at the end of his year-long incarceration by the British in 1909, Sri Aurobindo's defense lawyer Chittaranjan Das was moved to utter these prophetic words in the courtroom. He said, "Long after this controversy is hushed in silence, long after this turmoil, this agitation ceases, long after he is dead and gone, he will be looked upon as the poet of patriotism, as the prophet of nationalism, and the lover of humanity. Long after he is dead and gone, his words will be echoed and re-echoed not only in India, but across distant seas and lands." In the same year, 1909, Sri Aurobindo wrote, "The time has almost come when India can no longer keep her light to herself, but must pour it out upon the world. Yoga must be revealed to mankind, because without it, mankind cannot take the next step in the human evolution." Sri Aurobindo considered the establishment of a university center as one of the best means of preparing the future humanity. The mother initiated the setting up of the Sri Aurobindo University, where Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee spoke the following words at the convention called by the mother at Pondicherry in 1951. He said, "We propose to start this university for imparting training to men and women in accordance with the highest standards for the purpose of participating in the great task of reconstruction of humanity. Institutions of this type are bound to fail unless we can gather men and women who not only feel on the lines that Sri Aurobindo lived, but also act up to them. It is our hope that men and women from all parts of the world will be attracted by the ideology for which this institution will stand. We need not pay attention to the quantitative aspect of the problem, because we have many universities where thousands of students pass out, and we do not want to see any replica of such institutions. The policy of our government should be to encourage experiments of the type being made here, so that the work may be carried on without hindrance or difficulty." Later, the University Centre was renamed as Sri Aurobindo International Centre of Education, which provided free progress education up to graduation. Even today, there is no system of conventional examinations or tests at knowledge. The centre's higher course, which the Government of India accepted and gave BA BSc equivalents in 1962. Several batches of students have entered various professions and made a mark globally. Professor Kirit Joshi, one of its early registrars, under the direct guidance of the mother, worked out the scheme of integral free progress education in detail. Since then, several other centers of education have been set up in India and around the world to give shape to a new kind of education, each with its own unique manifestation. Sri Aurobindo Integral Education Network. The 21st century life has entered the online space, and the World Wide Web has truly empowered the ideal of human unity. The light of Sri Aurobindo envelops the entire earth, overtly active in hundreds of centers. To further intensify and concentrate our efforts, we propose to launch this worldwide network today. In the 150th year of Sri Aurobindo, 150 institutes and scholars from all over the world have come together to form the Sri Aurobindo Integral Education Network to create a new education for a new world. This is in itself a historic event, as a global network of Sri Aurobindo centers and scholars has been created for the first time.
bows down to thee. Lord, the earth is reborn, our prayer rises up to thee. Let it be for us also the dawn of a new life. Que la naissance de la nouvelle année soit une nouvelle naissance pour notre conscience, laissant le passé loin derrière nous, courons vers un avenir lumineux. Seigneur, l'année se meurt et notre gratitude s'incline devant toi. Seigneur, l'année renaît et notre prière s'élève vers toi. Que cela soit pour nous aussi l'aurore d'une vie nouvelle.
A prayer by the Mother. Thus, the solid foundations of thy terrestrial work are prepared. The substructure of the immense edifice built. In every corner of the world, one of thy divine stones is laid by the power of conscious and formative thought. And in the hour of realizations, the earth, thus prepared, will be ready to receive the sublime temple of thy new and more complete manifestation. The courses. It is no secret that different people learn differently. Research shows that people learn best when they have some control over their learning. Freedom of learning in the hands of a student, with power to set one's own goals and to choose his teachers and subjects, is the way forward. The role of a teacher is of a mentor, a guide, or marg darshak that shows the student where knowledge lies. A student has a choice to enroll in multiple locations with multiple disciplines according to inner calling and interest. Each course or experience would lead to some form of certification or credits. 22 digital, online, hybrid and on-site courses are being offered, with many more in the pipeline. A university of tomorrow. This is only a first step. Our aspiration is to create a university without walls, with a simple brick and mortar administrative, and networking hub, serving as an accreditation and coordinating hub between the various affiliated institutes and centers. The Sri Aurobindo International Multiversity shall be a global affiliating network of multi-locational, multi-dimensional, autonomous, affiliated institutes and centers with equal status and powers to attain standards of global excellence. This multiversity will be housed in the Auroverse, which will be an online space encompassing all aspects of Sri Aurobindo's education, yoga and work, all aspects of knowledge, culture, ecology and economy. And its central aim would be the growth of consciousness and the change of human nature. According to the Mother, an integral education would heal the schism created between matter and spirit. She felt that with some variations, this education could be adapted to all nations and reinstate the legitimate authority of the spirit over a matter fully developed and utilized. It has been over 70 years since this aspiration took root in the consciousness of India. Now, 2022, the year of Sri Aurobindo's 150th birth anniversary, is a propitious time for its realization. An offering. Sri Aurobindo's yoga must be revealed to mankind, because without it, mankind cannot take the next step in human evolution. Integral education is one way of revealing this. We pray collectively today that the Sri Aurobindo Integral Education Network grows into an international institution worthy of Sri Aurobindo's name. All the being is gathered into a well-tied sheaf made of various but harmonized flowers. The will was the hand that gathered the flowers and the tie that bound the sheaf, and it is the will that now holds it out to thee like a scented offering. To thee it is held out, unweariedly, without faltering.
Namaste astu achirishe Anyamaste asmat tapantu Hitayah pavaku Asmabhyam shivo bhava Asmabhyam shivo bhava.
I now request Dr. Karan Singh, who needs no introduction, but it is important to state that he has been our great pillar of support, both for Auroville and for the Sri Aurobindo community. Whenever times have been rough, we have gone to him and he has supported us. He's had a long innings and a long association with Sri Aurobindo from his school and college days, where he did his PhD on Sri Aurobindo. And the rest, of course, is public knowledge about him. May I request Dr. Karan Singh to give his message and words of wisdom.
Well, thank you, Amita, and warm welcome to all of you who represent what I call the Aurobindo Parivar, the large universal family of devotees and admirers of Sri Aurobindo and the mother around the world. So good to know that people cutting across race and religion and caste and creed are getting together on this very important occasion. The 150th birth anniversary of Sri Aurobindo, which coincides with the 75th birth anniversary of the Republic of India, which I had the privilege of seeing, by the way, is a date of tremendous importance. And this beautiful presentation that we saw has brought out very clearly the necessity to tie together the various aspects of Sri Aurobindo's thought, multidisciplinary and multifarious, and tie them together in a coherent, integrated fashion. That can only be done if we are able to set up an organization which is able to do this, a center. And therefore, whereas many suggestions have been made, many valuable suggestions have been made, a special suggestion that I find very important to the government of India has been to set up this multiversity in Delhi. It should act, as has been explained in the presentation, as the hub from which all the multiple inputs of Sri Aurobindo thought and action will be able to be. Now, this should have happened earlier. It didn't happen in the Pondicherry Institute of Politics. Although a lot of people I know, including my friend Ananda Reddy, has set up a good institution. But that international institution has not yet been set up. In Orville also has not been yet set up. So to do it here, I think, now on this occasion, now I have personally handed that proposal over to the concerned Secretary of the Government of India in the last meeting, as Amita knows. And now that needs to be followed up, because we must have some permanent memorial. There will be lots of other things done, stamps maybe, and coins and other things, which are very important. But education is the key. And for education, we need this integration of all these various institutions. On this occasion, I would very warmly support this proposal, welcome all of you to this session, and just say one thing before I recite the hour of God. Look inward. Find within yourselves the spiritual center from which wisdom, love, and compassion will flow. What we need to solve our problems is compassion, not confrontation. And I think that is very important for us to dedicate ourselves to in this. Now I will recite the Hour of God, a very beautiful poem by Sri Aurobindo, very deep, multiple meanings. In fact, several PhDs can be done on this poem alone. Perhaps somebody will do that. Rose of God, vermilion stained on the sapphires of heaven, rose of bliss, pious feet 17 with the ecstasy 7, deep up in our heart of moon, miracle or flame, passion flower of the nameless, what is the mystery? Rose of God, great wisdom bloom on the summits of being, rose of light, immaculate core of the ultimate seeing, live in the heart of our earth, O golden mystery flower, sun on the head of the timeless, guest of the marvelous hour. Rose of God, damask force of divinity, red icon of might, rose of power with the diamond halo piercing the night, blaze in the will of the mortal, design the wonder of thy plan, image of immortality, break of the Godhead in man. Rose of God, purple with incarnate divine desire. Rose of life, crowded with petals, colors dire, transform the life of the mortal, like a sweet and magical bride. Bridge our earth with heaven, make deathless to rose of God like a blush of rapture on eternity's face. Rose of love, ruby depths of our being, fire passion of grace, arise from the heart of the yearning that sobs in nature's abyss, make us the hope, wonderful, life, beatitudes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Karan Singh, for a beautiful rendering of Rose of God and your very, very, I think, timely message, both about an institution in Sri Aurobindo's name and the importance of looking inward with compassion and love. With that, I'd like to invite other guests, eminent guests. We have with us Chumurdi from the Sri Aurobindo Ashram and several other people. If Chumurdi is here, if she would like to say something, we would be very happy because Chumurdi is in charge of knowledge, the higher education wing of the Sri Aurobindo Ashram, Pondicherry. And, we have already with us, I think, 151 people on Zoom and about 70 to 80 people on YouTube. So it is a wonderful gathering. Thank you so much for all of you for participating. And we have with us Sir Mark Tully. Obviously, everyone knows him. And he's also, besides being a writer and a BBC celebrated reporter, been a member of the International Advisory Board of Auroville for several terms as its chairman. May I invite Sir Mark Tully to say a few words.
It's a great honor to be asked to be at this very significant meeting. And the only thing I want to say is that in the last 2.5 years, we have seen the state that the world can get reduced to. We have been made aware of the need for the world to unite. But what is the world going to unite on? What is the principle? What is the newness which is going to come into the world? Because unity in religion, unity in everything else which has been tried before has not worked. So we need the teachings of Sri Aurobindo. We need to see them maturing in this world, and we need to see that happening all the way around the world. And I personally will contribute what little I can contribute to this happening. And for what it is worth, I certainly give my blessing to the creation of this new international organization.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. May I now invite Chumurdi, who is looking after knowledge in the Sri Aurobindo Ashram, the higher education wing of the school that you saw on the multimedia. A few words from her would really, I think help us all, and we would love to hear a voice. Chumurdi?
Very few words.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
So all I believe and want everybody perhaps to follow is that the best homage we can pay to Sri Aurobindo and the Mother is for each of us to try to the best of our ability to live whatever we can of what they have come to tell us. To practice, to live that teaching and not leave it only to book learning. We have to live that as best as we can. And it is a continuous process. That's all, Amrita.
Thank you, Chumurdi. Thank you so much. May I now request Dr. Jayanti Ravi, Secretary Auroville Foundation, to give us a vote of thanks, please.
Good evening, Amita. I feel very tempted to start with the Sri Aurobindo Gayatri. It may take 30 seconds, but feel like it. Om Tatsaviturvaram Rupam Jyotihi Parasya Dhimahi Yannah Satyena Deepaye Satyena Deepaye Om Tat Saviturvaram Rupam Jyotihi Parasya Dhimahi Yannah Satyena Deepaye Satyena Deepaye. This was a beautiful invocation and curtain raiser of Sri Aurobindo Integral Education Network to commemorate the 150th birth anniversary of Sri Aurobindo. At the outset, a big thanks to Taradi for literally being the pillar of not just support, confidence, but enthusiasm to really make all this happen. Amita too for making all this happen. I think it's historic. It's the coming together of all the members of the Sri Aurobindo Parivar, which is in this special year. I think there is something very, very beautiful that is happening. I also want to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Karan Singh ji for all his guidance, and especially even in the meeting, the high-level committee chaired by the Honorable Prime Minister. He had mooted this idea of having a Sri Aurobindo International Multiversity, which is, with Mother's grace, beginning to take shape. The first draft has been submitted to the Ministry of Education, and I must say, I also take this opportunity to say that the Secretary Education, Higher Education, Sri Sanjay Murthy, I also spoke to him this morning. He conveyed his best wishes for this, and they are processing this draft bill. Also his Joint Secretary, Srimati Neeta Prasad. Neeta is also attending this event today, and their support has been phenomenal in this. And we do hope that in the coming weeks and months, we'll be ready. And as was suggested just now, finally, by Sumit Vermaji as well, and many others, maybe we'll also share the draft bill, maybe within this group, if there are still some more ideas, thoughts, or at least the draft note of it. So if there are suggestions, we can still incorporate some of it. I also want to thank Sir Mark Tully for sharing his ideas, deeply appreciated. Professor Rajshekharan Pillai, again, who's given phenomenal leadership, even as the Vice Chancellor of IGNOU. We had several occasions to meet and interact with him. We're very happy that he is here also today. Jumurdi, again, someone who's been a great inspiration, someone completely rooted in simplicity and measured, but with a lot of clarity, charity, and brevity in whatever she does and says. I've had the privilege of meeting her, and I'm looking forward to meeting her tomorrow as well, Jumurdi. Dr. Kabir Sheikh, who was with the International Advisory Council. I met him last week on the virtual network. Thank you, Kabir ji, as well. And I also want to thank Sri Govind Mohanji, the Secretary Culture, who's not physically with us today, but this morning we spoke to him. He has also given his full support, although this bill technically being under the purview, as per the rules of business with the Ministry of Education, they will be piloting it. So again, want to thank all the wonderful members who participated from different centers, as Amita said, and her entire team. I think a big shout out and thanks in the style of mother, in a very silent way, to Amita and her entire team for working over all these months. I think this effort started more than 8 or 9 months ago of trying to put this together. And I'm so happy it's culminated. Of course, Ananda Bhai, it's been a small core group which has been very persistently, very patiently working on it. I think with this, I think this, as Dr. Karan Singh ji said, I would like to also acknowledge the fact that this perhaps would be the most tangible outcome of the 150th birth anniversary of Sri Aurobindo. And again, in the spirit of something wonderful that is taking shape, let's again collectively aspire to really put in our very best and hope that this is offered at Mother's lotus feet, an idea that she had conceived of several decades ago is finally taking shape. And we do hope and pray it actually touches the lives of a large number of people. I hear Dr. Ramesh Bijlani saying that it's not about number and it is not about quantity, but nevertheless, I think providing access to anyone who aspires for this, is hungry for this, is something that with technology we can reach out. Again, thank you, everybody, as we anchor ourselves again in truth, love, and courage to aspire for the highest that we've all been born here on earth. And all this is going to be anchored teaching, education, research, and extension in life, consciousness, and yoga. So, with that prayer, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Jayantiji. I just want to end with also just saying that, we started this work together as a team. And I especially want to mention these people because we were coming weekly, once a week for the last, I think, 9 months, while this has been slowly developing. I want to make a special mention of the Sri Aurobindo Society, very much there with Ashna, with Sambrant, Pradeep Bhai, and Ranjan Mittal from the Institute of Culture from Calcutta, Chalnamai Institute from Hyderabad, Anand Bhai, who's been a pillar and has really, I think has had a huge contribution to make with Sakar to have this happen. This is really a coming together of about 10 or 12 institutes working first to create this and then inviting all the institutions that you saw. And Auroville Hemant, who really has been shouldering this and has been working on the draft and has been a great support. And of course, a few more people. Taradi, who has attended every single meeting. Even here, she's today present, though she's quite unwell. Our gratitude to you and to your entire team, Ramesh Bijlani ji, Jayanti ji, and Jayanti Ramachandran ji, and Anju from Madhuban. So thank you all, and thank you so much for coming.
I'm very well.
Now I know you're very well. Good. Okay, so thank you and good night.